fantasy
for dummies.
Hold up! This is the part where we are going to tell you that there are spoilers, cursing, potentially triggering situations, and spiciness of all levels. Don't say you weren't warned. Alright, carry on.
Yeah, welcome to Season 1, Episode 1.
Of Fantasy for Dummies.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I'm Brianna, the younger sister.
I'm Eileen, the fairy-loving almost 40-year-old. And today we're
The fairy loving's new though. We really need to we need to specify that.
Do we?
The love of fairies is new.
Maybe it was there all along. Okay, so what are we doing? We're doing ACOTAR today.
The first book of ACOTAR. It's our first attempt at this podcast, so bear with us. If things are a little wonky, know that we probably already got feedback from Rose and are probably on the mend to fix it for future podcasts.
Yeah. Okay. Season 1, Episode 1.
All right, let's go. That was quick.
Who hasn't read this book already?
Me.
You.
I'm a solid 36 chapters in.
But it's only 45 chapters. You couldn't have knocked the last 9 out?
It just feels like it's never ending. You got me to chapter 36 when I was only at chapter 17.
I know, but now you want to hear about the end?
Yeah.
When you're
I
so
do.
close?
I do. For our listeners, I'll do it.
Isn't it getting good, though?
You want to walk us through the format in which your outline is?
Well, I have an outline here that in my head is going to be 10 minutes. Don't make me nervous. Don't make me nervous.
I think you're already a little nervous.
I'm scared.
Okay, what's the format of our podcast? Why don't you fill us in on what the podcast is? I did the intro that you have not heard yet.
Oh, you did it?
I
really?
did the intro. Yeah, you haven't heard it yet, so... And
maybe
you won't hear it.
Maybe I... Oh, yeah, I'm never going to listen to this.
You won't hear it because you're never going to listen to this, so it could literally be anything I want it to be.
You did it by yourself?
I did it by myself.
Did anyone else hear it?
No.
You didn't run it by anyone?
What?
You didn't run it by anyone?
No.
Oh, okay.
Who am I going to run it by?
Rose.
No, not yet.
Oh. We're not Rose ready.
No, we're not Rose ready.
I'm not ready for her feedback.
Honestly, it's pretty harsh. She did think we were funny, the couple of excerpts I did from our first attempt, which was an absolute failure, but it led us to this moment, so here we are.
It was an absolute failure. We were workshopping.
It wasn't meant to be a workshop.
Was it? Whatever.
You did walk in saying, I have no game plan, so I guess I really should have saw the writing on the wall there.
I just came for the cocktails. I'm drinking Irish coffees because I'm tired. I could fall asleep literally right now while I'm drinking it.
I am fully aware. Me too. I'm with you.
Go team. Are we going to have a theme song?
And I just did an intro because I didn't think we were really like a music.
I think you need some kind of musical element. Are we going to have a logo?
How about you tell the people what the podcast is? Because at this point, no one knows what we are. Because
how about we just let them figure it out as we go?
I don't think that that's how this should work. Not for the first one. I don't think that that's how this should work.
We're going to read books, then we're going to summarize them, and then we're going to talk about the people in the books. Does that feel compelling?
Fantasy for dummies.
Fantasy for dummies.
Taking the guesswork out.
Taking the guesswork out.
You don't want to read the whole book, like some people? Pointing to myself.
If you just want to be able to discuss it at parties.
If you just want to know what the hell people are talking about.
If you're swiping on Tinder and see a cute girl that likes fantasy books, but you don't want to read them.
Yes!
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Finally, you're giving me something to work with.
Yep.
God, I was really feeling one-sided up until this moment.
I see your vision.
Because I'm not a podcast listener, and I'm trying to create a podcast.
So you're not a reader, and you're not a podcast listener.
Say I'm not a reader. I read.
You're not a fairy reader.
I don't like fairies. I don't like them.
And you don't listen to podcasts, but you're making a podcast about a book about fairies.
I'm here to support you.
Do you not want to do this?
No, I do.
I thought we were a partnership.
No, I do. I just...
You did the intro.
I did do the intro. I'm good for the bit.
I'll do anything for the bit.
I'll do anything for a bit.
Right. Probably wasn't smart to do that right next to it.
No, probably not, but it's good. It's good.
Have you had that?
Yeah. This is a really great... It's a company called Peerless Distilling. It's based in Louisville, Kentucky, on the Bourbon Trail. It's a small batch bourbon, And they do Rise now as well, and it's so good.
Is that too much ice for you? It's a lot.
Cheers.
To our first podcast.
To our first podcast.
That is delicious. It's like sweet. What the hell?
Yeah. They only produce about 2,500 bottles a year.
Holy crap.
Yeah. So good.
One of my favorite bourbons I've ever had.
It's so good. It's really good.
Holy shit, that's good.
Yeah. Peerless, if you ever listen to this.
Yeah, pay for our stuff. One
Pay
day
for
we're
our
going to make a...
booze. One day we're going to make a podcast. That day is today. Okay.
Okay, so we're going to talk about ACOTAR.
ACOTAR. A Court of Thorns and Roses.
The original ACOTAR, number 1.
We should say the author, just in case.
In case anyone doesn't know.
In case the frat boys that listen to happen upon this.
Yeah. Sarah J. Maas.
There you go.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were going to say it because you were talking.
Couldn't tell you what it was. Sarah something.
Wait, are you kidding me?
SJM, that's all I know.
You stress me out.
Yeah.
It's the gate. Okay, so the original ACOTAR, book number 1, the gateway drug for most people.
Yep, the gateway drug for you specifically.
It was.
It has changed. It has changed you to your core.
It's changed the
Outlook
structure
on
of
life.
my mind.
Yeah, the structure of your DNA.
Oh my! It absolutely has.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't.
Yeah. How many fairy books are you in? Like deep? Like how? Like since starting ACOTAR, how many fairy books have you read?
Okay, fairy.
Not Fourth Wing.
Wait, no, fairy or like romantasy, because I got vampires and demons and magic wielders.
Let's start. Let's say fantasy. Overall fantasy. How many? 25 books. Now the better question, Eileen. When did you pick up ACOTAR? In what month of this year did you pick it up?
August.
So you have read 25 fantasy romance books since August. It is now December 19th. Wow. Okay. All right. She is still employed, just to put it out there.
Full-time job.
She is a full-time employed being.
Sometimes I see my friends.
Sprinkled in.
My dog has a very fulfilled life.
Social interactions are sprinkled in.
Approximately 25.
Yeah, approximately 25. Jesus Christ.
I know, but I have so much material.
Thank God. We do it for the podcast.
That's exactly why.
Definitely.
Yeah. It wasn't because I was having an anxiety attack about how much time I've wasted on reading the books and thinking that I should do something productive with that. No, that had nothing to do with it.
God, no.
It totally went the other way.
No, definitely.
Totally went the other way.
Okay, so we're doing synopsis.
We are doing a synopsis.
Okay.
We're going to take it from the top.
We're taking it from the top. And then we're going to call out... We
should just, maybe like the specific people, like maybe the mains, maybe the good side characters. Yeah.
We're also going to call out words that we don't know.
There's not too many in
this one, but in this podcast, we're going to call out those words that we don't know.
I've read whole books and I pretty much don't know how to say any of the words.
Yep, 100%.
Because they're just like a sound on a paper that I make up in my head.
Yeah, sometimes I don't even say a sound. Like there's no sound in my head.
It's just like a blank. Do you think we should get headsets?
We will eventually, but not today. I was more focused on getting it done.
But if I wear headphones that I can hear my own voice...
Correct.
That's going to be a pass for me.
That's
going to be a major pass for me.
Yeah, I figured as much. Okay, so we're starting with the synopsis.
So we're starting with the synopsis of ACOTAR. For those of you who don't know, our main girl in ACOTAR is Feyre. Okay. She's not the best. She's not the best that there ever was.
I mean, by the end, she's not as bad, but man, is she
and as the
still
book
not
goes
likable.
on, as the books go on, she gets more like. But it doesn't matter because what I kept telling myself when I was writing the synopsis and when I was thinking about the characters in my head is we have to just do this book. You can't. I don't want what I know later in life to affect my feelings on this. It's hard. It's hard because once you know, you know.
Once you know, you know. Yeah.
And you can't go back.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. But I feel like anyone who's going to listen to this knows.
Yeah.
The book opens with our girl, Feyre, and she's in the woods, and it's the middle of winter, and she's hunting, which is odd because she's a young girl. And she's near the borderline of the wall that separates the fairies from the humans, and we find out almost immediately that every human is petrified of these demon fairies that are going to, like, eat your babies and kill your kids and yada, yada, yada.
Yep.
And she sees this wolf in the woods, and she kills it. And it's pretty apparent to all of us, and Feyre as well, that the wolf is actually a fairy.
I believe she even says, it looked at me.
She feels she's acting conflicted, but she uses the special arrow that can only kill fairies. So, like, in her heart of hearts, she knew what was up. But she's starving and her life sucks. So, are you going to judge her because she's hungry and she wanted the biggest wolf she ever saw in her life?
Yes. But that's not, it's fine.
You're going to judge her for that?
I can't stand her, so I will judge her on anything she does.
Okay, so she takes the wolf and she goes back to her one-room cottage shack that she lives in with her, arguably the worst family in the history of families.
The worst family in the history of families.
Yeah.
Man, are they the worst.
So you have her dad who's just pretty much useless with like a bum leg, and once his leg got broken, he gave up on like any sorts of income. Generating any income or life or anything like that. And then you have her Peachy Keen sisters. Oh, God. Nesta, the number one, like, see you next Tuesday of See You Next Tuesdays.
Yeah.
And
is that too harsh of a word to say on this?
No, she's super cunt.
Yeah, she's cunt.
But people get very offended by that word. Like, people like are legit offended by it.
Okay.
So
well, warning.
Yeah, we did say a warning at the beginning. But she's awful. She's absolute human garbage.
See You Next Tuesdays to a minimum.
Yeah. She only the power of that word is only using it.
I've only comfortably used it for one person I've ever worked with.
But that's what I'm saying. So that's the power, and you have to reserve it for when it's proper, and it's proper there.
Yeah.
And then you have her other sister, Elaine, who I think they're trying to paint as this, like,
of
dopey flower child who's super pretty, and we're not supposed to hate her too much because she's just kind of sweet and dumb. But she contributes absolutely nothing.
Useless.
And Nesta...
Who threw the hissy fit for not chopping the wood?
It's Nesta won't chop... No one will chop wood.
Feyre asked one of her sisters to chop wood so, they were warm in their one-room cottage. And whoever she asked bitched about it.
Well...
And threw a tantrum.
The biggest character flaw in the first 5 minutes of this book with Elaine, and this is like bless. I don't know if this was like what do they call that? Like, was she trying to, was it rage bait? That this girl has a flower bed and they're all about to starve to death. And instead of planting a tomato, she plants flowers. Yeah. And you're just like sitting there wondering what's happening. They're all awful, awful, awful to her. Nesta is super awful to her. And she just keeps, she's the only person holding this entire family together, keeping them from starving to death and dying in the winter.
Yep.
And they're trash. They're all
just
trash. Yeah.
Trashy as a trash.
So you would think that when a monster later barges into the house and tells her, your two options here are, you could come with me because you killed the monster barges into the house and says that wolf was a fairy and we have an agreement, and your options to pay for the life of that fairy, you could come live with me till the end of time, or you can die right here. I'm not going to lie to you. If I was Feyre, I'd be like, just put me out right here.
Yeah. Yeah. And, like...
Because in her head, she's going there...
Knowing what we know now, like... Yeah. Continue. We'll get back to this. Just remember this moment, everybody. Bookmark this moment.
She thinks she's going there to be tortured and be a slave and whatever she thinks, and off she hops on this monster beast, however they describe him.
I think of him as a lion, but my sister laughed at me.
I don't think he's a lion.
Yeah.
Off they go. He takes her. The family's sitting there traumatized. The dad's like, never come back.
Never come back. Even if you escape, never come back. Have a better life. And it's like, so you knew the life that you were providing for your daughters.
She wasn't providing anything. Yeah.
Couldn't care less.
Yeah. So no one cares.
But they had a nice bed.
They saved that bed from their former life of being rich. So off they go, and she's so annoying on the ride to the wall that he basically knocks her out because she just is. She's pretty insufferable. They get to the wall. They wake her up. She goes through the wall, and suddenly it was supposed to be winter, and now it's spring.
Yes.
She's in the spring court. She's in a beautiful mansion. All of a sudden, everything is gorgeous. The beast is a super hot guy who we could tell is super hot even though he has to wear this stupid mask.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an upgrade.
It's like an all-around upgrade.
It's an all-around upgrade.
She wants for nothing. He pretty much says you can do whatever you want. You just can't go home.
Well, so they get
You can live wherever, he said.
They get into this super beautiful house, and there's not a lot of people there. It's just him and his lovable sidekick, Lucien.
Yes.
Yeah, we love him.
Really is, yeah.
He's funny, he's bitter, he's everything you want.
They're all cynical.
He's cynical, yeah. A couple servants in the house. The place is empty, which is odd, but it's perfect. They have feasts. She could do whatever she wants. He tells her you're under no obligation to do anything. You're not going to be a slave. Live your life in peace.
Right.
And all she does is whine.
She bitches and she complains.
Correct.
And all she wants to do is get back to that insufferable family of hers.
Correct. So anyway, you find out that they're in these masks because that there is a disease that's sweeping the fairylands, that's taking over and causing all of these horrible things to happen, that he tries to tell her could go to the human lands to pique her interest. And I think because of that disease, they're stuck in these masks. None of it really makes a whole lot of sense. But it's a book about fairies.
Correct. It doesn't need to make sense.
Yeah, so you just kind of go with it. And she's allowed to do whatever the fuck she wants all day, and she just pouts and complains and is generally insufferable.
God, she just complains. She just doesn't let up. She does everything she can to get away from this life that she now has.
All she wants to do...
She has everything.
All she wants to do is go home, and she's plotting and scheming of how to go home, which is home is like the worst place.
Home is the worst place.
It's just, it doesn't make any sense, but God bless, that's what she wants to do. I guess we're supposed to be realizing that she's this... selfless, heroic person, and whatever. So her and Lucian kind of become friends, and he takes her out to go hunting, and basically we find out that there's a whole bunch of scary creatures that are floating around this property and this world, and that Tamlin spends most of his time, by the way, I don't even think we said that was his name.
No, Tamlin is the super hot.
Tamlin is the hot beast fairy.
Yeah.
And he spends a lot of his time going out and trying to slay these different various creatures.
That are, like, encroaching on in his land.
And... I don't know, Tamlin takes her around, shows her some murals, she's seeing all this stuff, he's trying really hard, and she's just not having it. She finds out from Lucian that there's a creature in the woods called Suriel.
Suriel, yeah.
Yep. And he tells her, stay away from them, they're really mean, but also they can answer any questions you have.
Yep.
If you catch one.
Yeah.
And then he teaches her how to take like a, chicken leg, like she's going
Raw
crabbing.
chicken.
Yeah, like she's going crabbing. Yeah.
That's how you know we're from Long Island.
And she goes out and she catches this thing and she strings it upside down. And the first thing she asks him is, how do I go home?
Like an idiot.
Right. And you have this, whatever. So he tells her, you can't go home. If you go home, everyone dies. She's like, okay, well, what's up with this illness that's sweeping the lands? And he tells her that 50 years ago, or 100 years ago, Hybern, this other king on the other side of the world, hates humans, and he was trying to invade their side
because he was enslaving them, right? He at this point, were being enslaved.
They were all enslaved, yeah. And he has this one general, and his top general, and she breaks free, and I think he calls her the Deceiver. And then she also finds out in this, dun dun dun, that Tamlin is the High Lord of the Spring Court. No shit.
Duh.
Correct. Idiot. Correct. And in the midst of all these revelations, the Suriel's like, something's coming, and she gets surrounded by all these little monsters who, I forget what they're called, but they start attacking them. She uses her bow and arrow, she saves the Suriel, he runs away, and she tries to fight them off. Lucian was supposed to come save her. She's calling for him, he doesn't show up, spoiler. Who does show up? Dun dun dun. Tam.
Tam Tam. But what I think a key thing is one of the key things the Suriel said to her was, Stay with your High Lord.
Stay with your High Lord.
Your High Lord.
Right, correct. Yep. Yeah, what you find out from reading a lot of fairy books is you gotta be real specific.
Yeah.
When you're making promises, when you're striking deals, when you're
that's
listening to advice.
I think that's one of the reasons why I don't like fairies is because they are deceiving and like they're conniving. And
not all fairies.
Wordplay is big, and you know me, I'm not great with my words.
Not all men and not all fairies, okay?
Okay. Got it. Struck a chord with the new fairy lover. So she lets the Suriel go.
Yeah, she lets them, and then
Tam comes and saves
Tam comes and he starts being really nice to her, and he tells her your family was shit, they didn't deserve you, and then he also tells her that have no fear because he erased their memories, put a glamour on them. They don't really know what happened. They think that she's off helping some rich aunt, and they're being super provided for, which should really put her mind at ease.
Correct.
You would think that would be the end of it for her, but I don't know. Whatever. Then we jump to her going to sleep. She's sleeping in the middle of the night. She gets woken up by this commotion, which turns out to be Tam Tam and Lucian bringing in this dying fairy.
Yeah, the dying fairy is pretty sad.
Yeah, it is. It's a sad scene, and
she took my wings.
Did you listen to the dramatic reading?
Aren't all readings dramatic?
No, that's what I asked you on the text message the other day. Is how I find. We'll talk about this later, but there's certain audiobooks that are read with like different characters, dramatic readings. There's there's an upper level of audiobooks that's not just Audible. But how
I
do you
couldn't-
find them? If anyone knows how to find them,
Please DM us. We don't have an Instagram yet, but we will by the
We'll put it
time
in-
this posts.
we'll put it in the show notes.
By the time this posts, there will be an Instagram.
How do
that
we
you can
find a
DM us.
dramatic reading of an audiobook?
This
They
is
exist.
pretty dramatic. I mean, she does different voices, but all the audiobooks I listen to, the reader does different voices for.
No,
It's one reader though.
no. If you listen to like the Instagram, there are dramatic readings, and please someone tell me how to find them. Do I have to pay extra for them?
You
What
know
platform
I
are they
think
on?
Listen to the dramatic reading.
Lindsay, ZZ.
No. What Zach's groomsman's name was listening to it with that other poor kid. He was
I
making
think
them listen to the dramatic reading of ACOTAR on their way up to my cousin.
I
to our
thought
cousin's wedding.
I thought they just had he showed me his phone. I thought it was a regular Audible.
No, I'm pretty sure he said it was the I don't remember a lot about that guy, but I'm pretty sure I remember him reading because it's why I thought they were gay. It's why I thought they were a couple. They were listening.
How is his
to
name escaping me right now?
Jason?
No.
Josh,
if you're listening, text Casey and tell her how to find the dramatic reading. Yeah. I don't think. Oh, we have to find out. Yes. So we'll shelf that.
my wings.
Yeah.
She took my wings.
Yeah, there's a fairy who's dying, and
It's
Lucian.
blue.
It's blue. Lucian can't handle it. He dips. He can't handle watching the thing die. Tamlin is like trying to be there for it, basically holding it down, saying, "Stay still, so you'll die quicker," which is his bedside manner leaves a lot to be desired.
Tracks.
It does track. Yeah,
Okay.
correct.
Continue on.
So our girl Farrah steps in and she holds his hand until he dies.
Again, it's supposed to be like a moment of her being like selfless and caring, but she's so insufferable
Right.
that I can't see it.
So Tamlin's like, "Why did you do that? You hate fairies," because she does. Even though they've given her this nice life, she still won't shut up about how much she
won't
hates them.
shut
And
up
she's like,
about
"But he
it.
was dying,"
God.
and it's this whole thing. And then after that, there's a bit of, I think, like a change. They start to get. They're like the three best.
Chummy.
Yeah, they're like the three best friends anyone could ever have.
Three Musketeers.
The Three Musketeers,
They
but
go
there's
on a lot of
obviously a
picnics.
romantic,
Poor
inclination
Lucian's
between.
the third wheel.
I don't think he cares because he drinks a lot.
Couldn't give two craps.
Yeah, Lucian only has one eye. We didn't say that either, right?
No, you're correct. He only has one eye.
He has a
behind that
gold
mask.
eye behind that mask, so he has a lot going on. I would assume it's probably already a lot to have to adjust to having a gold eyeball and then having a mask over it.
Yeah, it's
I'd be disoriented all the time. Anyway, so then they go out and he takes her to all these beautiful places on the grounds, and there's a pool of starlight, correct?
Yeah.
Starlight pool. You think that starlight pool goes right to the night court? Does anyone think? But that's a question for later. And yeah, and they're frolicking around in the pool, and she's like jumping in, and it's all romantic. And then they unpack Lucian's trauma at the pool.
And then they also unpack Tamlin's trauma.
Well, they unpack Tamlin's trauma, I think, when they get back to... I think they unpack at the pool. I think they unpack Lucian's trauma, which is that his family was trash, and his brothers are all evil, and his dad is the High Lord of the Autumn Court. And he loved a girl who was like a
lesser fairy.
Right, and the dad...
Lesser fae.
They killed her in front of him as a punishment.
His brothers held him down as his dad.
Horrible. So you already loved him and you kind of love him more. And then she kind of goes on about her fucked up family life and about how I think that's when she tells him how they were super rich, and then the dad lost all the money to debtors, and the mom died. And this is real fucked up. Before the mom died, she didn't like Feyre to begin with, but she made her promise that she was going to take care of the family.
Yeah.
Yeah, the mom only loved the dad and not the kids, which is a really weird
thing.
Oh,
It's always
God,
a
when
weird
you
thing.
meet a woman who loves their husband more than their
the
kids,
kid,
it is
yeah.
so bizarre. It's
very
absolutely,
odd.
yeah, absolutely
It's odd.
bizarre.
For sure.
Yeah, Lucian apologizes too, I think, in that encounter for not coming. He's like, yeah, by the way, I did hear you when you were getting attacked and I didn't come.
I hesitated.
Here, have a
Not
knife.
long,
Have a
but
beautiful,
I
can I
hesitated.
offer you this beautiful knife?
Dagger, a jewel-encrusted dagger.
Right. She takes it. And then things are just romantic. Yeah. Things just get romantic between them. They go to the gallery. Tamlin writes her poems, which in my head are really bad. They're like embarrassing, like kindergarten roses are red, violets are blue.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure they're made up of all the words she was trying to learn because she's illiterate.
Yes. And then he brings her to the gallery and gets all of her painting supplies.
Yes.
She's a painter.
She's a painter, which
That's a large character trait of hers.
We're going to get to that when we talk about her, but I'm going to tell you, in a book about fairies, the least believable part in this entire book is that Feyre is a good artist.
That she's good at anything.
She's good at hunting. She is.
We learn later.
She fed her family. She has some skills. I don't hate her the way everyone else hates her. I really don't. But the way they describe her painting and the things that she chooses to paint, it's like, in my cottage, I painted our bed frame and our dresser. You know who paints dressers? Little kids that accidentally get into art supplies.
Yeah, or crayons.
Correct.
Sharpies.
Right. So she's off to the races with her art, and he's really trying to foster her creative spirit.
Sure.
God bless. Now we get to the sex festival, which is really weird.
Yeah, the sex festival's weird. The sex festival is the reason why I needed to get to the sex festival, because when you described it, I said, surely she has to be over-exaggerating.
I'm not over-exaggerating.
Surely her synopsis of this is wildly
over-exaggerating? No, it's not.
It is not.
Dear listeners, this they have a festival every year.
I would like to say warning. Warning. Just a warning. Like an overall warning of everything we talked about at the beginning.
There's spoilers.
Warning.
There's adult words. There's weird shit.
There's like maybe some triggering things for people. Just warning.
I don't know. Yeah, it's not that deep, but moral of the story...
It could be, but yes.
Moral of the story is, in order to get the crops to grow in Fairyland, they have a sex festival one night in which the High Lord gets overtaken and has to just fuck a lady of his choosing out of his mind on testosterone and just magic sex drive. Yeah, he's an animal.
He's not himself.
And he goes.
He's not the Tam we've known.
He's not the Tam. Correct. And he's just gonna go into this cave and bone.
Yeah.
And that's the only way they're gonna have food.
Yeah.
Take a second. Think about how weird that is.
It's weird. It's a weird choice.
It came out of left field.
Yeah.
But the moral of the story is, our girl Faye was looking out the window. She's like, "What are all these bonfires about?" And they're like, "Oh, it's a festival, but you have to stay inside.
You're not allowed
you
have
to
go. Stay in the manor."
Correct. And you know what she does? Because she's stupid? She goes outside.
Every time. She goes out like 2 or 3 times.
She's living in a world where everyone wants her dead, supposedly. You're so afraid of all these fairies. You think they're going to rip your throats out. They're the bane of evil.
And now you're going to
you're just going to walk amongst them?
After you're being explicitly told not to go.
Right. So she straps on her cloak and she goes for a walk.
She just goes for a stroll.
She goes through a stroll.
A little stroll.
With her human blood that they can smell from 20 million miles away.
Correct.
And a couple of unsavory fairies. Real scumbags.
Because she's able to see all these fairies. There's a ton of fairies from different courts that are allowed to come into.
Correct. For this special night.
Due to this, what is it?
A sex festival.
No, it's some...
Calamai.
Oh, no, right. It's a rite, isn't it?
I think it's called, I don't know what it's called, but the name of the sex fest is Calamai. See if I'm saying that right.
Calamai. You are saying that right.
Oh, good. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. So off she goes and she starts getting hassled by these scumbags. And she thinks she's in for it because she's just a human and she's got 3 fae scumbags that are giving her a hard time. And someone taps her on the shoulder and saves her life.
Yeah.
And it's the most beautiful man she's ever seen. It's the most beautiful man any of us have ever seen.
And I believe this is where the term shadow daddy...
It's not yet. Calm down. You're getting ahead of yourself because he doesn't have shadows yet. He's just in the woods. He's just a guy in the woods who saved her life.
Doesn't she say though he's like dressed in all black?
Yes, he's brooding. He's a brooding figure.
Oh.
And she turns around. She's stunned by his beautiful face, and he says, "There you are. I've been looking for you." And you just don't know how much that's going to change your life as a reader of this silly little book. You just don't know how that line is going to ruin all real men for you until the end of time.
And you really don't know because you meet him again and you're thinking to yourself, surely this is not the same guy everyone's talking about when we meet him the second time. But that's neither here nor there. Continue on, sissy.
So anyway, he saves her from these scumbag dudes and sends her on her way. And she's like, wow, he's hot, but something's kind of off. She feels unsettled. And who finds her? Dun dun dun, everyone's favorite sidekick.
Lucian
Finds her and he's like, what the fuck are you doing out here? You dumb human. How can I continue to save your life from your own stupidity? Get back in the house, lock the door, and don't come out. And she's like, but it looks so fun. Like, I don't understand what I'm missing. He's like, Tamlin's about to become a sex-crazed maniac who's going to hurt people.
And he's going to look for you.
He's going to look for you like a savage.
My favorite was when she described being put over his shoulder like a sack of potatoes and then, like, him running. And you know what I pictured? I pictured the filming of Twilight. Have you seen that? The filming of it?
I've never seen Twilight.
Like the behind the scenes.
No.
They have to be on these treadmills, right? So it's a treadmill on wheels that they get pulled by a car.
Okay.
To make them look like they're moving extra fast.
Oh.
But some people
couldn't handle it.
Are more athletic than others.
Sure.
And I will have to show you the...
Robert Pattinson was pretty athletic, no?
No, it's not him. It's like his siblings. The mom, the girl, the woman who plays the mom.
Okay.
Not athletic at all. Can't run to save her life.
I wouldn't be able to do that either.
Bless her.
Yeah.
But that's what I pictured when I read her description of him running.
He brings her back in the house, tells her that it's a dangerous sex festival, and she should basically, like, lock herself in.
It is not the Tam Tam you have grown to love.
No, Tammy Tam is out of his mind tonight. Get inside. And she's like, okay. And you think for a second she finally understands the gravity of what's going on. And then she's like, I'm hungry. I need a snack.
I need a little snicky snack.
Yeah, I need a snackety snack. Let me roam the halls of the mansion in the middle of the night. And what happens? Basically, Tamlin finds her. He bites her. She likes it.
Bites her, likes it, yeah.
And
that was the trigger, really.
Yeah.
The biting and the pinning up against the wall.
Yeah, she's into it, though.
She says she's scared for a second,
she's
then
not
she's
scared.
into it.
Yeah, people say they're scared of a lot of shit they're not scared of. So off she goes.
Okay.
And then she wakes up the next day and she's like,
she gets mad about it.
Well, yes, but correct. And then she's like looking at the bruise, getting like turned on by her own bruise. She's like, let me put on a fancy dress and go to breakfast.
And show it off. She shows it off.
She does show it off. And poor Lucian's like, I'm just trying to eat my eggs. I gotta deal with this shit. I gotta look at your bruise. Like, no, he doesn't deserve any of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Poor Lucian.
And after that, it gets real romantic between them. They get kind of cute.
Yeah.
He also takes off the glamour, and we see that there's a house full of people. He had hidden all... Now, here... We'll talk about hidden red flags that you might have missed at the end of this. But yeah, it's a little bizarre. I'd be pretty pissed. And then they go to another party. Summer solstice. She's invited. It's a big festival.
That one she's allowed to go. There's like a main
She's allowed to go. She gets really drunk. Tamlin, what instrument is he playing? The fiddle.
He's a gifted fiddler.
And she's super turned on by his fiddling, and she gets drunk, and in my head, she embarrasses the shit out of herself dancing to the fiddle.
Kind of like when Julia Stiles gets drunk in 10 Things I Hate About
That's
You.
Exactly what I'm picturing.
It's
exactly what I'm picturing. But I think in the book, we're supposed to believe it's like she looks cool. She does, dear listener, she does not look cool. She also can't, she can't draw.
I can't imagine.
But he's, you know what? And then he takes her aside for a private fiddle lap dance, I guess is what we would call it. And they kiss, and we're off to the races.
And then it's love.
And then they're in love.
Love blossoms.
Right. And then in the middle of the love blossoming, our main man, Rhys-and, the High Lord of the Night Court, breaks into the house. Reese breaks into the house, and he's like, what do we have here? And he's scheming. He's like, Tamlin, what's going on?
And
who's this girl?
And I got to this moment, and I texted both you and Rose, and I said, how the hell do we come back from this? He's a dick.
But here's what I'm going to tell you. Hold on, let's talk through this. So he breaks into the house, and he's like, who's your little visitor here? Who's this human? What do you got going on? And she did what I would have done, and she lies, and she just picks a random name, and she's like, oh, I'm Claire.
Claire,
yeah,
Claire.
That's me. I'm Claire. And Tamlin's like trying to hide her, and at first he gets really pissed, and you think that he's going to stand up for her and like fight Rhys. He's like, you're Amarantha's whore. And we're all like, who's Amarantha? And we're just trying to like piece this all together because it's an odd encounter. But then what does Tamlin do?
He gets on his knees and begs.
And therein lies all we need to know about Tamlin.
Yeah, Tamlin,
Yeah. You're supposed to be this
badass.
Correct. And what do? You beg. And right then and there, we all should have closed the book.
I think Rhys made him put his head to the floor.
Correct.
Yeah, it wasn't good. It wasn't a good look for our Tam Tam.
No.
Boy Tam Tam.
No.
You really start to second guess things at that when his head gets to the floor.
what are you doing, buddy?
Yeah, what are we doing?
And you're
What's
like, is there
happening?
something to this asshole? If you like assholes, and we all do, you're like, there's a little something here.
Yeah.
My interest is piqued here.
Yeah.
About our man. And Reese leaves, and after that they fuck. Tamlin and Feyre, they bang it out.
Yeah, and then promptly he sends her away.
Yeah, he bangs her and he's like, you gotta go home.
Bye.
Yeah. And she's like, wait a minute, what? But also, okay. And she packs her shit and she goes, and he sends her with a chest of gold and jewels to go home to her shitty family.
Yep.
Lucian's super pissed.
As she's leaving, he says, I love you.
Correct. She
And she just stares at him.
She's a dodo. She could have saved the whole world, but she doesn't say it. She doesn't say it, even though she thinks it. She does love in her head. She loves him, and off she goes. Lucian is super pissed. She doesn't really know why. She gets home and finds that her family forget that he just provided for them and said she was off with a rich aunt. He made them like filthy rich, richer than they've ever been. Cured the dad's leg.
Made it better with a salve. I don't think fully cured it, but made it better.
He's off and working. He's back on the boats. He's living his life. They are living their best lives.
Yeah.
Elaine is engaged, I think. Is she engaged at this point?
No.
Oh, she's not?
No, not yet.
Anyway.
She's talking about her flower patch and how now she's going to look into growing food.
Well, now that you have an abundance of it, why not start?
Correct.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not utilize it?
Correct. Why have an urban garden?
Nesta's still a bitch.
Nesta's still a bitch, but she redeems herself slightly.
Nesta, I no longer want to be dead.
She has 5 minutes of redemption. We find out basically that Nesta did not fall for the glamour. For whatever reason, it didn't work on her.
Did not work on
she
Nesta.
remembers everything, and she went after Feyre.
She
did try to find
save
Feyre
with the mercenary.
but she's still not really nice to her.
No, she's still kind of a bitch. But she also then, when Feyre eventually goes back.
Yes, and she's like, "I'll take care of the family. Go. Don't come back."
Like being genuine about it.
Right. She has a 5-minute reprieve from her absolute awful personality. She's just one of those people, and you know them in real life, who's just miserable for the sake of being miserable.
Yeah.
She has no interest in being happy. And if you read all the ACOTARs, a lot of people are Feyre lovers. I'm going to say right now.
Nesta lovers?
Nesta. Well, there's both. But yes, a lot of people are Nesta lovers by the end. I'm going to just throwing it out there right now. I still hate Nesta.
We're not those people.
Well, you might. I think. See what happens. I think you might be a Nesta lover by the end of this, but we'll see.
Again, I no longer want Nesta dead.
No, I'm talking about by the end of the series, but we're sticking to this book. We're sticking to this book. And the other thing that we find out here that's super important is she's like, hey, what happened to our neighbor's house over there? It's like, ooh, it burned down, everyone died, and the girl went missing. And it's like, oh, what was her name again?
Claire.
Feyre has the
Instant
awful
guilt.
Yeah, she does. She has the awful realization that the name that she gave to Reese off the cuff has probably really fucked this entire family, and they're all dead, and it's probably her fault. So off she goes. She's like, I have to go back. What she thinks she's gonna do is beyond my comprehension, but she gets off and she goes.
Yeah.
Somehow she finds her way back. I don't even know how she does that.
She finds a crack in the wall. She finds the wall. She can't cross it, and she literally just takes her and her horse, and she just keeps walking
and off she goes
until she finds a hole.
And she makes it back to the spring court, and the house is ransacked, and obviously no one's there. And out of the
poor Alice.
Yeah, poor Alice, whose name I thought was Alice the whole time, so we could do that later. But Alice, but it's Alice. But whatever.
Alice.
Yeah, Alice was the servant that was like assigned to Feyre, and they became friendly, and we know Alice's story about her family and how they had to flee another court, how Tamlin was protecting her nephew. She's a sympathetic character.
Yeah.
But she's had it with Feyre's shit.
The glamour made her look like a normal fairy.
Oh, but she has like
she's like
scale
a tree.
skin or
Like
tree bark skin.
She's like a
tree
fairy.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
whatever.
She's like, "What are you doing here, you dumb bitch? Like,
you
ruined everything.
Yeah,
like, why are you back?" And Feyre's like, what exactly is happening here? And she's like, kind of breaks it down a couple of things, that there's no actual disease. And that
it's a curse.
The disease that they talk about, the blight as they call it, is Amarantha,
it's a curse that she put on the land.
Right. So she put a curse. So she hated people. When it came time to free the slaves, she killed them all because her sister fell in love with a human
who used her
during the war, and the human used her and then tortured her and killed her. So she hates all people. She pretty much hates everyone. And she came back to get her revenge.
Oh, you know who she doesn't hate?
Tam Tam.
Correct.
She wants the Tam Tam.
She loves the Tam Tam.
She wants the Tam Tam real bad, and he's saying no.
Well, so stay on track here.
Well, that's why they have the masks. He says no.
Correct. She wants him. He says no. And then she's like, all right, I'm putting a curse on all your people, and you have to wear these stupid masks. You have 49 years. She says 7 times 7 or some dumb shit. Just say 49. You have 49 years to find a human girl who's going to love you because they're so shallow. They'll never love you with a mask on. And if you find a human girl that loves you with a mask on, I'll break the curse and you could have your power back.
It's like very specific parameters, though, right? Like, she has to kill one of his kin.
Correct.
With a full heart of hate.
Right.
She then has to fall in love with him.
Right.
And then there was one other thing, I feel like. I can't remember. But it's like there's a very specific
The moral
parameter.
of the story is, if on horseback, when she was leaving, she had looked over her shoulder and been like, I love you too, this all would have been over.
Yeah.
But she didn't do that.
Hindsight's a bitch.
Yeah, hindsight is a bitch. She doesn't do that. And, also, we find out that she had a party after she did all this horrible shit. She had a party for all the High Lords of all the different courts. And she drugs them all and steals their power. Yeah. So now we have all these High Lords with no power. Any High Lord, like any of the houses that really fought back against her, their whole court lives under this mountain where she reigns in this like hellscape under a mountain. And now Tamlin's back there too, and they all had to go. Because it came down to the 48th day and 48th year and 364th day, and this girl didn't say I love you, and off they go. Which is
She's
why
like 3 days late.
Which is why Lucian was so pissed. And Alice is like, you should go home. You fucked up. It's done. And she's like, no, I'm gonna go save the world. And we're all just sitting there like, are you?
Why?
Yeah. Well,
in what world?
Right. Your family's rich now. Just go back with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But off she goes. And she gets under the mountain. She finds her way there. Alice tells her how to get there, and off she goes. And
Alice gives her some like really cryptic. This is where I'm at. This is where I listened to today.
Oh, she does. She gives her cryptic.
She gives some cryptic thing like, you don't know everything. There's still a piece of this I can't tell you. Make sure you listen.
Yeah, and be careful when you make bargains.
She said, listen to everything you hear. Don't make bargains unless your life depends on it.
So this is where you're at, because now I feel heartbroken that I have to, because my stupid little summary is not going to do justice to what happens under that mountain.
Fine. I'm going to finish it.
You promise?
Yes.
No matter what?
Yes.
Okay. Feyre gets under the mountain. No, don't. Do you pinky swear?
Yeah,
pinky swear right now.
I'm pinky swearing.
We're pinky swearing, dear listeners. We're pinky swearing. So Feyre gets under the mountain, and what does she find? She finds Amarantha, who's this psycho goddess bitch, who's a lunatic, and who is sitting beside her on her throne?
Tam Tam.
Tam Tam.
But he looks like a little toddler, like that has been put in timeout.
He says nothing. He does nothing. He doesn't really make eye contact with her. He stares off into space. And at first you think he's under some kind of spell.
I just thought he was pouty.
He's not. He doesn't react to her. He's, he just looks at her.
Sits there.
He just sits there.
Like catatonic.
Catatonic. So you think that he's under some kind of magic. He's not. He's absolutely not.
I don't believe he is.
Right. So he just kind of sits there.
I see red flag after red flag.
Right. He doesn't try to help her at all. Amarantha's like, hey, been waiting for you. If you want to save everyone, I'll give everyone their power back. You have to either win 3 challenges.
Or answer a riddle.
Or answer this riddle. I don't remember the riddle. I didn't bother to write it down.
The riddle was very long, and I can't imagine
it's like
Feyre listens and
Feyre can't read or write.
Correct.
So how is she supposed to process a riddle? And no, she doesn't have the wordplay skills. No. So it's like a 3-paragraph riddle. A lot of people will tell you, oh, I knew the answer right away. And I'm like, at the end, I'm like, yeah, you knew the answer right away because it was a trope. Like, it was stupid.
Yeah.
It was, no one knew. Regardless. Okay, so she's like, all right, no problem. I'll take the challenges. Reese is there also.
Yep.
Our main man Reese. Yep. And we kind of find out that he gets a lot of special privileges under the mountain. He's not a full-blown prisoner like everyone else. He's also...
They call him... Because
he's her sex slave for sure.
When he breaks into the house, Lucian calls him what's her name?
Amarantha's whore.
Yeah.
Yes, and he is. He's like, but he's a slave, but he's playing both sides, right? Because he wants to keep his privileges, and he's
trying to play the field.
And aside from the sexual assault that he's being subjected to every day, he has it a lot better than a lot of the other people in there.
He also tried to help her out by saying that Claire was because they find Claire.
Right. Claire is there, and her tortured body is there, and we see that she was absolutely...
just, like...
Bad. Bad torture. She did not have
easy death. It was
No.
slow and painful, and all this kind of clicks.
Yeah.
So, the first challenge that they throw into, she's in like a muddy maze pit, and she has to fight off this
worm.
Yeah, like a
With
killer worm animal with teeth, and she does it. Against all odds, she does it. And the only person in the crowd who believed in her was our main man, Reese. And you could tell that he's kind of intrigued. Like, who is this girl? And he's watching her.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they torture her a lot. They give her tasks that she can't complete. She's broken after this. She's like broken bones, and no one comes. She thinks someone's going to come and heal her, and no one comes and heals her.
Well, because someone healed her the first time.
Right.
Lucian came and helped her the first time.
So she's going through all this, and it's a lot of just back and forth torture. She has broken bones and all these things, and then Reese kind of breaks in, and he's like, "I'm gonna set your broken arm because it's getting infected. She's spiraling fast. Like things are going really bad." And he's like, "I'm gonna set your broken arm, but you have to make a deal with me." She's like, "What's the deal?" She doesn't want to do it. He says, "You have to spend 2 weeks a month with me forever in exchange for me fixing this arm." She bargains him down. She's like, "Let's make it 1 week. You've got yourself a deal." He's like, "Cool." And he sets her arm. And then he starts to help her out a lot. But he's creepy about it. He plies her with a lot of drugs and wine, kind of makes her wear like real slutty outfits and body paint, and then has her like do like stripper dances on him at the court where everyone's watching to piss off Tamlin. So it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable what goes on. Yeah, it's uncomfortable what goes on.
Yeah.
And he has his servants come every night, and they paint her body so if anyone touches her, he could see it. And he makes her into her. Like, he makes her into his whore, essentially.
Yeah.
But nothing happens. They don't kiss, they don't fuck, like nothing. He just parades her around and embarrasses the shit out of her in front of everyone. But eventually she comes to like it because it passes the days. She doesn't remember anything. She drinks the wine, she dances in public, and off she goes.
Yeah.
Yep. So, he does it to piss off Tamlin. But what does Tamlin do?
Nothing?
Correct! That's the overarching theme of Tamlin. He does nothing. He just sits there. Imagine, and she asks people, is something, and they're like, there's no magic. He's just a bitch. She's like, but I love him.
He's just a little punk ass.
He's a punk ass. Correct. He's a weak man.
Yeah.
He's a weak man. So, the second task is real dicey because basically it's a word game. You gotta read. Feyre is fucking illiterate, and she can't read or write.
Fucking illiterate.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You gotta read.
She can't read.
Well, and Lucian's life is on the line.
Oh, no.
So, yeah.
No,
Right.
No.
And his
Our boy Lucian.
and his mom's watching, you know?
Oh.
So Lucian's like, Fairy, you gotta do something. And like she process of elimination, she gets the first two, and she's down to the third one. She's like, we're all gonna die because she can't read. And then a voice comes in her head. And whose voice is it?
Reese.
Our main man, Reese. And he helps her cheat.
Great.
He absolutely helps her cheat. And she wins. She saves Lucian's life. They have a bond. After the deal that they made, they have some kind of bond. She doesn't really understand what it is, but he could talk into her head. And then he licks the tears off of her face, which is also uncomfortable for everyone involved. But just stay with me. Stay with me. Buy in.
I just, okay, yeah, I mean, I'm here.
All right. So we go on. He's like helping her in his own way. She can hear music in her cell. She's all these weird things going on. Now they're out at one of the parties, and she's covered in body paint, doing her stripper dance, wasted as shit from Reese's fairy wine that's super strong, and she's spending.
Oh, because that was the other thing Alice said. Don't drink the
fairy wine. Yeah. And that's
Sorry,
Reese's plying her with the fairy wine, and she's just drinking herself into oblivion. Which, can you blame her?
No.
Correct.
Quite honestly, agree.
So it's actually mutually beneficial because he gets her to do this, and then she's like, the nights pass and I don't remember them, and this, like, I'm being tortured. And Tamlin's like, come with me. And, like, they sneak away. And he takes her to, like, fucking a closet. You've done shit for her the whole time.
Yeah.
She's clearly intoxicated.
Yeah.
And you're gonna fuck her in the closet?
Yeah.
Tam. Right. So they start to get it on. And who breaks in? Reese. And Reese is like, what's happening here? Get out. There's some kind of conversation that happens. And they hear Amarantha coming. Now remember, Amarantha thinks that Tamlin is her super soulmate. he's not giving in to her, but she's super in love with him.
Yeah.
And she has a claim on Rhys too. So she walks in, he throws Tamlin off, and he starts making out with Feyre. So that way, when he pulls off of her and the handprints all over her body that Tamlin had left, he
looks like his.
Correct. And the scheme works. Everyone makes it out alive. And I think he even explains to her kind of why he did it. So she goes back to her cell where they're keeping her, and he shows up, and she's like, why are you here? And he's like, I just need peace and quiet. Like, please let me think. Like, he's scheming. This is all a scheme. You don't know exactly what his game is, but you know that, like, this is all a scheme. He's like, just so you know, like, this is why I did this. And he does break it down a little bit, so you see that he's not just a super creepy perv.
Okay.
Correct.
Does he explain the, like, parading her around and all that stuff, too, or just the making out?
The making out, and he explains the body paint. I don't know if he explains the parading around. I'm going to tell you, eventually he does, but I don't know if it's in this book. I don't know if it's in this book. Yeah. So, he just starts to suck less. You see, he thaws out, and you kind of see, like, there's more to him. And then the third task comes up. And the third task is third test, whatever the fuck they call it, is there's 3 people with hoods, and she has to kill them. It's like, are you going to kill innocent lives for your love, for the greater good? She really struggles. And it's 2 completely innocent fairies. And she kills them. She puts the knife in their heart, and she does it. And then she gets to the third one, and it's Tamlin. And she really struggles. She's like, I can't do this, blah, blah, blah. And she's having a moment with herself. And then she remembers what your girl Alice said. There was something like to remember something. Like, there was more to this. And she remembers that Tamlin has a stone heart. So she realizes, I could do it. She plunges the knife into the stone heart, and she wins. We're supposed to have a victorious moment, but what do you know? Amarantha is like, oh, I said I would free everyone, I just didn't say when.
Yes. Because Feyre said she clocked that early on. It was like, I'm overthinking things. It's like, bitch, you never overthink things with fairies. They're literally deceptive as shit.
Also, you don't think enough, girl. Correct. So we're in this moment of like, oh shit. And it's like, well, we should have known this wasn't really going to end that easily. And Amarantha's like, say you don't really love Tamlin. She's like, no. She's like, well, I'm going to kill you. And she's like, say you don't love him. And she won't say it. And it's fucked. Amarantha just starts torturing her to death, but like with her powers. So she's like snapping all of her bones while she's conscious. It's like a very slow, torturous death. And what does Tamlin do?
Nothing.
Correct! Ding, ding, ding. Who's the only person who tries to save her?
Rhys?
Correct, Amundo again. She can hear him like yelling through the crowd. And then he gets up to the front and he tries to kill her. He tries to kill Amarantha. He tries to stab her. It does not work. But he tries.
Yes.
And he gave up everything for that try because he had it good.
Yeah.
Correct. And as she's dying, she's a moment, a breath, a heartbeat away from death.
And
she figures out the answer to the riddle.
Was it love?
Correct.
And
And with her dying breath, she says, love. And everything stops. And in that moment, Tamlin kills Amarantha after Feyre has already died. Talk about being a day late and $1 short and the worst character in the history of fiction.
He's the worst.
She dies. Everyone immediately gets their power back. Feyre is dead on the floor, but she could still see things through Rhysand's, like, connection. And as she's dying, all the High Lords, because now all the High Lords are there, they come over and they essentially all... Someone else does it first. I don't know who. And then Rhysand does it. They give her a drop of their power. And with every... Like, once all 7 High Lords give you a drop of their power, she comes back to life. Not only does she come back to life, she comes back to life with not a scratch on her, not a broken bone in her body, and she is...
A fairy?
A High Fae. She's an immortal High Fae. And up she springs. Up she springs. And she's like, Tamlin, I love you so much. And she wakes up because she hears Rhysand's voice in her head. And they're having this moment, this like emotional moment conversation. And you think for a minute she's going to get her head out of her ass. Yeah. And then she wakes up and she's like, Tamlin, I love you. And Rhys is like, all right. Until our first week of my bargain. I guess I'll see you then.
Can't imagine Tam's too happy about that bargain.
And off they go. They go back and that's it. It's a love story for the ages. What I did miss, and I'll tell you this now, is there's another redeeming scene for Rhys in which someone gets caught trying to leave. And he's supposed, she's his he is
her like watchdog.
Watchdog,
Yeah.
and he can go into people's minds, and she's like, find out what he was doing. Find out. And he knows that guy
was trying to get out.
Was part of a bigger scheme, and he, like, Mercy kills him.
Yeah.
So there's definitely things that you'll see, like, along the way that are Easter eggs of
Reese not being
the greatness that is
Recent. Okay.
How long did that take? 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Seriously, how long?
50.
Holy shit.
Okay. So then next.
1 to 10, Feyre.
2.
2.
2.
1 to 10, Feyre. Okay. All right.
What about you?
I'm going for... I'm trying not to let what I know of the rest of the series. I know. I'm trying, but I'm still going to give her a 4 because I don't hate her as much as a lot of other people hate her. I hate other female main characters a lot more than I hate Feyre. We have to do Spark of the Everflame because Diem, holy shit.
Okay.
That's, you know what I mean? So I feel like if you have someone to compare it to, it's like if you've read Diem, Feyre's better. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, okay.
So I'll give her a 4. I don't hate her the way everyone else hates her.
All right, okay.
Book boyfriend, Tamlin. He's the book boyfriend of this book.
-8.
-8.
I'm
gonna get so I'm giving Tam a 4 in this book as well because he does some good things. He tries, but he's a weak man. I would friend zone him in a minute.
I struggle with him. He dropped below 0 for me. Was it Alice that gave the backstory about why he sent his people out?
Oh, like to find the girl. I think it was.
And I understand that like his men actively went to do that, like did that for him, but I don't believe he loves her.
Oh, I think he does love her.
I believe
I think he loves her.
He is doing it to fulfill this prophecy.
No, I think he does love her.
Because he never would have found her if this prophecy didn't happen.
I think he loves her, and I don't want to say too much because we're trying to stick to this book. I give him in this book, if this was a standalone book and it ended right where it ended, I would give him a 4 because he was good. Like he was good to her. Yes, his intentions were maybe not pure, and his absolute pussiness is despicable to me, but I gotta give him some points.
Okay, you know what? You're right about that. You're right. Okay. No, you're right about that.
Trying not to let the rest of the books cloud my judgment, I'm giving him a 4.
You're right. Okay, I don't say -8. I take that back.
Okay.
But I still am like a 2.
Okay,
3.
That's fine.
Maybe
a
3.
I would say 3.5.
Maybe a 3. She's still the worst because she's still a 2 because she just bitches.
Lucian.
8.
I'm going 7.
Especially once you find out why he is the way he is.
Yeah, that's true. He's a misunderstood man.
He's the first one that helps her.
And by the way, Amarantha took his eye. I forgot to say that before.
Yep.
Yeah, she's the one who took his eyeball.
And he also, when she first gets the shit kicked out of her when she shows up, he's the only one that shows up and fixes her nose.
He's a very good friend to her. Let's give him a 7.5, 8. 7.5, 8.
Yeah.
Obviously, Nesta and Elaine are both zeros. The dad is a 0. Alice, she's a great character. I'll give her an 8. I liked her.
I would say she's like an 8.
Yeah.
She helps. She's got her own shit she's dealing with, so she can't care too much about Feyre.
Now, you don't know what happens with Rhys. You don't have his full picture, so what are you going to give him in this book?
It's going to be low. It's going to be like a 3 or a 4.
He's the only one who tried to help her. That doesn't mean anything.
You're right. You're right. Well, again, it's the parading around. It's the making her his bitch.
But
then helping.
To be fair, he never assaults her really in any way. But yes, he does embarrass he does embarrass the shit out of her.
Like those two things don't Him helping her is great, sure, but that is also not great. The giving her wine to make life more bearable to get through.
Well, and also what he was trying to do is make it genuine. Like, if he acted like he really liked her, it would have been more of a target on her from
Amarantha.
Correct. Oh. So that was a form of protection for sure.
The parading her around.
Yeah, that he had to act like he was using her to keep her Amarantha's eyes off of her.
Okay. Is that clear? Does that become clear at some point in this book?
It's hard for me to... I honestly... It's tough for me to remember. Yes.
Okay.
I don't know.
You know what?
Read the end of the book. But
out of a 10,
yeah.
From your synopsis alone, I'll give him a 5.5.
I'm going to give him a 6.5 out of 7. Trying not to cloud my judgment with what I know to come.
Because you are in love with him, so...
You'll be in love with him, too.
We'll see.
Everyone's in love with him.
We'll see. That's it.
I'd walk across the football fields of Legos, barefoot, for resand.
Mm-hmm. I would just like to say that this is a side of my sister I've never seen. Okay. Alright. Any, nuggets of information, any little moments that would help make it more believable for someone who's never read the book? If someone was trying to say, I read this book, but didn't actually read this book.
You can reference anything we just said. You understand?
Any other little specific things that you might have glossed over?
I don't think so. Maybe I could add them back after, if I remember. But I feel like that was a pretty good synopsis.
A very good synopsis.
I feel like you could listen to that and just be able to jump into any ACOTAR conversation that you hear.
Yeah, you'd have to be smart about making sure you're not too invested in the book.
Right. Yeah, you're like a casual reader. And also, you if you really want to play it up, you could love Tamlin at the end. There's a lot of people who loved Tamlin at the end of this book.
When I started reading this book, I texted my good friend Rose, and I said, I think I love Tamlin. And she said, verbatim, Tamlin has a very interesting character arc.
Yeah.
And that was her way of saying, oh, you poor child.
But you see, so here's the thing is, I feel like everyone knows the spoilers of it.
Now I do.
Well, yes, even if you didn't, if it wasn't for Instagram and booktok, even at the end of this, people wouldn't understand, but everyone knows he's about to be vilified, and that takes away from some of the genius of reading the rest of it. But it is what it is. We live in a world of constant information and instant gratification. Full book rating. What would you rate ACOTAR 1 to 10, now that you know how it ends?
It's hard, because I really don't like fairies.
Okay.
I really don't like fairies. I really don't like Feyre. So I'm going to say a 6.
6.
I'm going to say 5.5, a 6.
Okay. I'm giving it an 8. I don't know if that's nostalgia looking back. A lot of people have trouble reading this book. A lot of people can't get through it. We know several of it, and I'm telling them, you have to power through. I did not have to power through. It had me hooked from the first sentence of the first page.
Which is good.
Yeah, I don't know. So, but I get, it is, out of the series, it's the worst one.
Yeah.
So I'll give you that.
Say it's because it's a lot of build up, or do you think it's just she hadn't found her voice yet, writing with this? Does that make sense?
No, I think she set this up. I think this book was a setup for the rest.
Be,
correct.
Yeah,
I think this had to be insufferable for the greater good of
for the rest of the series.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's my hot take.
All right.
The only word I don't know how to say, I think in this one is, what is it? Bog? Bogey.
Bog.
It's bog? That's what they say in the audiobook?
Yes, that's what she says in the audiobook.
Oh, so I was right.
Yeah.
I was right.
Because it's B-O-G.
B-O-G-G-E.
Yeah, bog. It was a bog.
Interesting. Okay.
I'll triple check that, and I will create a edit.
Yeah, fact check. Fact check. Mm-hmm. Monica?
Maybe.
Okay, so
we're
signing.
Rose's verse.
Are we signing off?
Rose's version. Yeah, what's our sign off going to be?
Peace out, homies.
Classy.
Short, sweet, to the point.
How do you end a podcast? You just say that?
Yeah, you say whatever you want.
Peace out, homies.
Peace out, homies. Until next time.